I try not to buy into seasonal anime hype. I've come to terms with the fact that I don't have the same taste as your average weeb. I'm easy to entertain but hard to impress. And after a string of disappointments last year, I basically swore off ever watching something that was new. About that. So, this is what it feels like to be pandered to. I first heard about Quintessential Quintuplets about a year ago when someone recommended it to me based on my, shall we say, appreciation for redheads. I kept putting it off and kind of forgot about it a few times until the anime started earlier this year. I checked it out and liked it enough to start reading the manga, and I kept reading it. And next thing I knew, over 24 hours had passed without me getting any sleep and I had caught up with it. Quintessential Quintuplets does a lot of things that really just hooked me. I came for the redheads and stayed for the drama, the intrigue, and the character development. The fan service is very tame, grounded, and sparse enough to where every cheesecake-worthy moment is special. And none of the fanservice distracts from what is a pretty interesting story as far as romance goes. Futaro Usugi is far from the typical romance protagonist. He's a bit self-absorbed and kind of a dick. And this pretentiousness is what causes the uphill battle with the Nakano quintuplets, particularly Itsuki. The whole story is framed as a flashback from his wedding, which gives the series a clear end goal to work itself towards, and I cannot stress how important this is for any series that wants to go more than 20 chapters or so. And so his journey, realizing that school isn't everything, friendship and memories are important, and he needs to be more caring, is just as interesting as the journeys of all 5 of the titular quintuplets. I'm just a sucker for romances in which all the characters involved change in some way, with one party fulfilling the needs of the other party in a mutually beneficial relationship. Ichika seems like a generic older sister type and is the most flirtatious of the bunch, but she's also someone who values her dreams and career prospects over school, and spoiler alert for the manga, actually goes through a heel turn where she puts her own desires over the desires of her sisters and certainly becomes the most underhanded in her approach towards Futaro. Which actually makes sense for her character because she's done the same thing with all her desires. To her, betraying Miku's trust is no different than ditching out on them during the fireworks arc. Nino goes through the most drastic overhaul, as is often the case for the straight-up tsunderes. She's spiteful and mean, but actually loves her sisters a lot, perhaps even too much. Futaro may just be their tutor, but she hates the idea of an outsider coming into their home at all. Her arc is less about accepting Futaro's help and more about getting over herself and growing up, which she does. As of right now, she has the flimsiest reason for falling for Futaro, but is a perfect hard counter to Ichika's snake-like methods. Miku is a classic tsundere and most people's favorite. She is the first one to truly fall for Futaro and has good reason to. See, Futaro understands her on a level her sisters don't. She's a nerd, she loves Sengoku-era history and got into it through video games. She's shy and embarrassed, and it's not until Futaro comes along that she realizes that this is actually an academic strength she can use to help her sisters and herself get passing grades. She's a bit of an audience surrogate, even more than Futaro in some cases, because she's exactly the kind of nerd that would read a manga like Quintessential Quintuplets and project herself on one of the characters, which is why I think she has by far the largest fan base within the Quintuplets fan base. Yotsuba is the typical muscle-headed Genki girl and also the hero of the current arc in the manga. As of right now, there's not a whole lot to her. She's the only one that hasn't gone through a major arc. They've reiterated her self-sacrificial tendencies a couple times. She's the only one who never bore any ill will towards Futaro and is just an overall pleasant person. But therein lies one of writer Negi Haruba's strengths. Each character has a full range of emotions. It annoys me when a character will have just one default emotion for most situations. That's not the case with Quintuplets, and Yotsuba right now is the shining example of that. Rounding out the cast is Itsuki, who is a bit of a tsundere, a bit pouty, and has quite the eating habit. But she also has the most reason to genuinely dislike Futaro, and most of her plot points revolve around testing his resolve as their tutor and as their friend, though what she's trying to accomplish right now is anyone's guess. And that's another thing I really appreciate. Neji Haruba has built an interesting layer of mystery surrounding the girls, Rena, the girl in the picture, the bride, the quintuplets and their games, and conveniently cuts away anytime an internal monologue is about to reveal too much information, which is what a good editor should do. And that's not mentioning the brilliant shading work in the manga and spectacular voice work in both dubs of the anime.
Need I remind you that this lowlife saw me naked? It's not like there's anything there to look at.
Though I think the anime follows the manga a bit too closely and doesn't capitalize on the different medium nearly as much as it could. And so while I definitely will recommend the anime and give it a 7 out of 10, this is a case where the story just lends itself a lot better to the black and white manga. It's been a pretty interesting, heartfelt, and undeniably wholesome ride, and I look forward to writing all this out to the natural conclusion. I'm Mediocrity4, thanks for watching.